financial problem that they can't afford better microphones, and I would be willing to contribute money to get better microphones if you
Yeah, I think-
all want to go along with that.
You can start.
We'll do a little investigating, Susan, and maybe we can have a planning board fund for improved mics. So I would like to call this planning board meeting to order. Waldeboro Planning Board, Wednesday, March 10th. We have a quorum. We have Jeff Erskine, Jim Russo, Johnny Cosno, Barbara Boardman, and Sarah Hotchkiss, and myself, Scott Simpson. And we have our trustee secretary, Susan Alexander, and town planner, Max Johnstone. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Max, you okay?
All good.
Okay, we have two citizens present. Are there any citizens' comments apart from the applications to be discussed tonight?
There is no one in the town office.
Okay, thank you. So, old business, we have the dance studio that we discussed last month, I believe. And Heidi Strand is here to present the application again. So Max, did you have any comments that you wanted to introduce this again, or?
So the only things that I had was that in addition to the documents that were presented last month, Heidi provided me the Maine Department of Transportation entry and exit permit
Okay.
that was required. That should be in the supplemental documents I sent you.
Yes.
The other document is a copy of the site map. This is adjusted with the measurements that I took on February 20th. And I believe I also sent some site photos to everyone so you can see where the measurements were taken. I think the last thing was I spoke with the Waldeboro Fire Chief, Paul Smeltzer, in regards to the lockbox item. He said that it's not an item to really be required at this time, but he would like the planning board to put a condition that it is revisited if the first floor is changing its use.
Does anybody else think Max sounds really muffled?
Yeah,
It's hard to understand him. Yes.
It sounds like you ate your mask, Max.
I just think there's, between a mask, but it's also a mic issue. There's just not enough clarity in those microphones.
would it be better if I just repeated everything right here?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Barbara, do you want me to repeat everything?
I caught it, but it was very, very muffled. So, but Susan, I think Susan needs it. So go ahead. Susan, if you need him to repeat it.
So the
I
first time,
I heard that he's gotten entrance and exit permits and a map and some site photos, and the rest is blurred.
the third item was that I spoke with Paul Smeltzer, the Waldeboro Fire Chief,
Okay.
in regards to the emergency access general requirements. He said that the lockbox requirement doesn't have to be addressed right now. However, he would like it to be addressed in the future when the first floor is getting a new use.
Okay, Max, is it correct to assume that if the first floor was going to be a new use was found for the first floor, wouldn't that have to come to us anyway?
Yes, but he's just
Okay.
saying it's not required right now, but he just wants
Okay.
the planning board to keep that in mind for the future.
Okay, so it wouldn't need to be a condition.
No, it would just be more of something for the minutes.
Yep, okay.
And basically anything that's important that I don't get, Max can correct on the written draft that I will be sending to him. So I don't want to take you all's time unnecessarily for me not being able to hear Max when he can make that correction on the
Okay.
written document.
Right. we will. Okay. So before I open it to the board for any questions or comments, Heidi, did you want to add anything to that?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
my understanding is we're just kind of revisiting the parking issue to make sure that it's safe. And I was happy that I had the DOT permits in hand. That felt good. So I guess it's really, whatever questions you might still have, here to hopefully answer.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Barbara?
I have one. It's maybe kind of a question for Max, but I was just kind of curious under project description. Proposed project would lease the second floor of an existing building to grant a permanent place for Dance Mania Dance Studios. So a permanent place. What we're doing is, another dance studio could, it's kind of curious language. I mean, another dance studio could obviously use the space with this permit, and maybe even something else could use the space. I mean, they've basically solved the parking for the property. But or does it? I mean, what are we just permit? I'm curious. Are we just permitting a dance studio here, or is it basically the building open for business?
Well,
Yeah, Heidi can go ahead.
Well, from my perspective anyways, right now, the dance studio is it. That's, and any other change of use for the building, I'm assuming I would come talk to you guys again. And that's.
Well, yeah, in an effort to try to streamline so that maybe you wouldn't have to. That's why I'm raising the question.
Right. I think that's a really good point, because if, for example, the dance studio was 3 nights a week and another night a week, a jazzercise club or something wanted to use it.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that if there was if there was a way to broaden it a little without making it be a completely different use.
Right.
It's
It's not going to be a restaurant, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Max,
how should this be phrased? I mean, that's not actually, this is just a description. It's not actually the application, right? Or does it matter?
Are you reading from the cover sheet, or where are you reading that from? Is that from my summary?
Yeah, your project description summary.
So what's being approved is that the second floor would be turned into the classification of a private school, essentially, for this dance studio. It's not a formal educational place like Miller School or anything, but it's an after-school program. It still teaches children something. So, I mean, if you want to get into the technical parts of it, the dance studio could be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And if someone wants to have the top floor leased out from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. for something else, it could be, if that's what you're getting at.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the other applicant has got a submission checklist that describes exactly what they're getting. And the only thing we have for Heidi, I mean, it's not a big deal, but is your summary, and your summary describes a permanent place for dance, but I think we're trying to do something broader than that for her. But on what piece of paper will it say that, into the permanent record? Because I only see a project summary here. Yours, Max, that you wrote?
Right.
Max, is it on the original submittal from last month?
Oh, maybe.
I said in my summary that the documents that I sent this month were supplemental documents for what was submitted last month.
yeah, it's basically the same in the original one last month.
Okay.
However, it seems to me that there's potential for the wording of our motion to approve is we're only approving the second floor for use as a private school and dance studio. That's as broad as, I mean, that's still within the tenor of the original application, but it's maybe as broad as we can make it, because the private school could be judo, right?
Right.
Is that,
Right, and part of the whole discussion we've been having about the parking lot is how many spaces is enough.
mhm,
Something that I've been asking Heidi is just how many people are at the dance studio
mhm,
where they're currently at to justify the number of spaces. If
mhm,
we're starting to, and so at least with that, we can say it's going to be at this specific time that you're going to have that many people.
mhm.
If it's being opened up to being, it can be any private school teaching whatever. I don't know what's going to be there in 5 months then. And
Mhm.
the argument of, well, you approved it with a broad brush of anything is private school. So that's what you can change it if you would like, but that's,
Right, but there's inherently no number of attendees of a dance class either. So,
Right.
so that isn't, I don't think that's the limiting factor. I mean, does this have to be conditional on the limits of the parking spaces available?
no.
Okay,
I mean, the parking spaces is the main issue because in the ordinance, it doesn't specify the number that is required for this specific use.
okay,
That's why there's been this whole thing up in the air of how much is enough.
right. Okay,
So what did we figure out in terms of the number of cars that could be parked there?
Heidi, do you want to cover this one?
Yeah, so based on, so we kind of scrapped the side parking because then there was the issue of the gully and is there enough space to back up? And so Max had gone out and measured, and basically with just parking in front of the building and without blocking the main entry, we have at least 9 spaces there. And then there's also, which isn't, I don't think it's on the map that Max did, but there's also, there was concern about, okay, we obviously don't want to park on like a septic field or grease trap, and that has actually been marked. It was previously marked when they did all the excavation and stuff. They moved some really good sized boulders to make sure that that wasn't the case, that people weren't going to be parking on that. But with that said, there's actually 2 more additional spaces kind of to the side. So could potentially be 11.
okay.
Are they
Well,
marked also? Where are the 2 additional spaces?
I don't think it got marked on, Max did that map for me.
Do you want me to pull up the overhead?
Well, you could describe it. Are they on the left or the right? as
If
you
you're
face the
looking
building?
at the building and you have all the cars parked directly in front of it, and then you look to the left.
Yep.
I wish I had a better aerial photo
That's
of the
okay,
building.
yeah.
'Cause you can kind of see to the left, kind of where the there's a telephone pole, and there's actually like a niche there, and it's wide, it's 24 feet wide. So that would be at least 2 parking spaces
Okay,
Basically between the septic field and the
and that
highway.
telephone pole. Yeah.
okay. And theoretically, if the dance instructor or somebody, the person that closes up, could theoretically park parallel to the 60-foot building and be blocked by a car because they're not leaving till everybody else is gone.
Right.
I mean, okay.
So I don't have any issues with this. I with the plan, I think it's fine. And, but I just don't want to have people come chasing back to the planning board if the dance studio turns into a yoga studio because of the language. And I don't see an actual application for, it's just two of your summaries. The last one was the summary 2, Max. So anyway, let's try to keep it simple for Heidi. I mean, obviously, if the first floor becomes something more, more active, you might have to come back to deal with whatever, but
Yep.
Any advice on that, Max, how to word this? Are you
So,
okay?
well, hold on, because did everyone get the mail? Did it? Did all? Okay. I'm just making sure everything did get out, because it's
Yeah,
being combined with what was done last February. I don't have last February's application in front of me.
Yep.
I don't know the full things that were in there, but I believe Heidi did provide a description at least.
Yeah.
At least narrative.
yeah,
Okay.
it was in the original.
Okay.
Um,
So I do believe that does get left to the planning board if you want to make a condition. Just for the concern, if you want to say approving it as, if you want to make it broad and say after school, private school, I leave that to the planning board. I would say the approval should be for the second floor to be turned into a private dance studio.
well,
We say the second floor, just because the first floor is not a question.
no, you're saying you want to limit it to a dance studio, Max? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm suggesting, because that's what's being proposed. If Heidi can also say, I mean, this is Heidi's application, so I leave it to Heidi for what language she's aiming for.
Well, so this is kind of all new to me, if you
That's
haven't figured
okay.
that
Yep.
part out yet.
No, it shouldn't be that confusing. I'm sorry, Heidi, but if
No,
I am
that's
trying to make
okay.
it simple for you.
I think that for Melanie, who runs Dance Mania, this is really exciting, because she has rented places throughout the years, and some here and some there, and she never really had her own dedicated space where it's hers and she's not sharing. And so my hope is that it's going to be her dance studio, and it's kind of a family business. Her daughter works with her and stuff, and for the foreseeable future, that's the hope, that she wants to be there at noontime getting ready, and she's going to be there until 7 or 8 o'clock at night when her classes are done. And she, it's not subletting, she has a pretty full dance when she's full blown and not in the middle of a pandemic. She can pretty much run classes from noon till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So
Okay, well, rather than beat this to death, I guess we should just keep it as is, and then,
So, yep, okay, so the motion would be, so before I just check with all the other board members in case there's anything else, I would, that the motion would be to approve the second floor of 931 Winslow Mills Road as a dance studio.
can we say dance and exercise studio, just so we can broaden it? It might be yoga, it might be,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Or just referenced, which falls under the category of a private school in the land use ordinance. And in that way, you reference that, but you say specifically what
Right. Got it.
It gives reference to why we're approving it.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm fine with that.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Max.
Johnny had a.
Great. Go.
Question to you, Heidi, can you hear me?
Really speak up.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Hold on. Right now?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Can you guys
Uh,
hear?
keep-
Better.
Better, but be loud.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of shut up. I was just thinking, Heidi, when you put the word permanent, maybe you should give yourself more leeway, as the board's saying, to, possibly make it an exercise, health club, something. Because when I see permanent, it says, to me, it's attached to dance. So you might maybe give yourself a little bit more space or options.
Can I jump in on that?
Well, I agree with you, Johnny. I think that, but I also, it's not going to be part of the motion, so I don't think that that is going to be an issue. Max, am I right?
Can I also just make a bit of a clarity? What everyone keeps referencing is the summary that I made of it. When I say it's going to be the permanent location, what I mean by that is that Dance Mania is going to be there, and they're not renting it out for like the summer or anything.
Okay,
What I'm essentially saying is it's not a temporary space. That's all I'm. So
okay, okay. So the other is I want to emphasize that we're not going, and I don't, my proposed motion was not after school because, for example, in the summer, I don't see any reason why it should be limited to after school. So,
Scott, if I may,
Yeah.
I think Jim actually nailed the motion on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just leave it as what the category is.
yep, okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm still concerned, you know, the 10 or 11 parking places, is that adequate for the business plan? I'd hate to have overflow traffic trying to park on the shoulder of 32, you know, especially if it's a corner as well, and people tend to travel too fast on it.
It looks, Jim, if you're looking from the road towards the building, it looks like that whole section that is 44 feet, so that would hold about 5 cars, could easily go to within 8 feet of that border. So,
No, that's where it hits the septic field.
no, that, the septic field's behind that, isn't it, towards the back?
No,
of
that's the grease trap. The septic field is actually to the left of that rectangle.
It is,
It's on the
over
north
by the
side.
lot line?
Yep.
Yes,
Oh,
it is. It's blocked off by some pretty good sized rocks.
Right.
So there
I
is,
thought it was
there is,
behind the grease trap. Okay, sorry.
So, I mean, 11 parking spots is about what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And
But
between the
there's-
times when people are leaving and then another class is coming in, you're going to have leavers as well as goers. So you have double duty traffic and
Well,
But I mean, I would have done it a little differently. You can do along that right side edge, you can do, you know, bumper to bumper along the right hand edge, parallel parking in there at over 60 feet. That's so, and then, yeah, change the way that front white smaller block is. So,
Yeah, and I don't know that
You
there's
know.
any rule that you can't park on top of a leach field if it's down there enough. I mean,
It-
we have a neighborhood community club. We've been parking on top of the septic system for 35 years.
Jeff,
I don't think parking on leach fields is a good thing to plan to do. You know, maybe, you know, somebody doing that at a residence, that might be okay, but, you know, something that's gonna be heavy usage and you're really gonna shorten the lifespan of that leach field and run into problems potentially.
I can't
Fair
hear
enough.
it.
Fair enough. He was just saying there's issues with parking on top of a leach field. It's not a
Yeah.
great idea.
So, and then, you know, a class, Jim, there's going to be a lot of dropping off and picking up. So there's not like everybody is going to be sitting there for, you know, permanently for kids' classes.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wind up kicking the can down the road. If there's ever a plan to do something else with the first floor, parking will definitely become an issue.
Yeah, might have to redo the septic system.
Yeah.
To use that side of the building.
I'm willing to accept it for, we've maximized the amount of parking that's there. There is a plan, so it's structured and folks will know where to park. See how it goes.
So there's still time for
Is
any
that a
other
motion?
further questions or comments. I think, Jim, you kind of captured it pretty well. Did you want to try to make a motion or you want me to try again and someone can make it?
I'll let you do it. How's that?
Okay,
Then I'll just
so
second it.
I would like to entertain a motion to approve the second floor of 931 Winslow Mills Road for a private school and dance and exercise studio under the category of a private school.
I second it.
Just a quick question. Were there any conditions set?
No. Because we have the parking plan, which is part of the application, and we have the driveway entrance permit. So, I mean, if anything happens to the first floor or any expansion of it, the applicant would have to come back. So we're just approving this initial app.
I would, if I may, just make a suggestion.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the first floor will be. It could be something that goes under the code enforcement officer's jurisdiction, or possibly the code enforcement officer planner approval. So I would say, just as a condition, if there is a new use in the first floor, the planning board is referred to. Or, I know, I'm making it more complicated. Never mind. Never mind. Excuse me.
Heidi, how's the back of the building? I mean, could you come in, drive along the right side of the building? Could you make a parking lot in the back of the building?
Yes.
Okay, so you can deal with it then, because it'll be so fabulously successful.
Yeah, we are gonna, yep, we're gonna be amazing.
And Max, the motion only approves the second floor. So
Yes.
the first floor is moot. Have to come back.
But not necessarily to us, I think was Max's point. It could just come back to the
Okay, yeah.
enforcement officer. Yep.
Hmm.
Anyway, motion has been made and
And
seconded.
seconded. Is there any other questions or comments on this one? I don't see any indications. Thank you, everyone. And I would ask that all those in favor of the motion signify aye.
I
All opposed? No opposed? Motion carried unanimously, I believe, if I caught that right. So Heidi, you are set. Good luck.
Heidi,
Thank you very much.
Heidi, I'll email you tomorrow about what will be happening next.
Okay. Thank you guys very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. So next on the agenda is Gregory Collins Auto, 646 Union Road.
They are here, but I muted them and cut the visual, so, Collins, if you're here, I see they turned on their mic.
Hello.
Hello?
You want to turn on your camera? It's right next to the microphone on the bottom left of your screen.
It refuses to let me join.
It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Hold on. What I get when you give me power.
So much power to the hosts in this thing.
There we go.
Coming up.
There we go.
Okay. So would you like to take us through this?
Basically just going to be a small automotive repair garage, fixing small repairs and small everything really. But
It's not going to be some huge place.
I got to start out small, got to start somewhere, but just basically mechanic repair.
What was the building before?
It was just a garage for me to store some vehicles in and also just work on my own stuff, basically.
Okay.
So you put that building in originally yourself for that purpose?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is it relatively new?
Jim, were you asking a question?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Go ahead.
I asked if the building is relatively new, because I'm looking at Google map and it doesn't show it. It shows the outbuildings, but not the big building.
About 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
That's new. So the other question I had, if I may, oh, Max, are you raising your hand?
I was saying Johnny was actually raising his
Okay.
hand.
Okay, go ahead, Johnny.
Maybe I just have one question for you. Are you gonna have these vehicles, is there any kind of environmental concerns where, you know, if they leak fluids or oils or gases, stuff like that, do you think that might be an issue at all?
I'm very cautious about letting anything like that happen. I do have an oil burner, so any oil or gases or anything like that from any of the vehicles will be collected and put into a holding tank. And then I also have another separate drum for any antifreeze or anything like that. And that will be hauled off by Waste Management.
And just one follow-up question, are the workers, is there enough like ventilation and that type of thing so workers don't get exposed to any of that type of chemicals?
I will be the only worker. But yeah, no, as far as ventilation, if it gets smelly in there, I'll certainly open the door.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Your map with all the colored sections there, where do you, so if you have vehicles for sale, where do you think they're going to be? And obviously you want them kind of on display, right? So where do you think they'll be on the property?
All my sales will be through Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. I won't be displaying.
So you won't have a line of cars that people come and walk around or whatever?
No, basically the car dealer license is so if people bring a car and they leave it abandoned, or I need to have means to get rid of these vehicles. It happens if you go by Winks or Hillside, they both have their dealer license. They do the same thing. When these cars become abandoned, it just makes it very easy to get rid of them.
Okay.
And then on the side, I might sell a couple here and there. I can almost guarantee I probably won't sell more than one a month.
But so where do you think they would be? Is it in that kind of gray L-shaped part that says 40 feet? Is that what that is? Like where you're going to park stuff?
Basically, where you see the tree line is where the parking lot is today. It doesn't show on Google Maps because I just did it last summer. But I just hauled in really nice gravel and it's nice and level. And yeah, so basically it could probably fit 10 cars comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, I think Max
Sort of
is,
to the back? Is it sort of to the back?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see this, but
Go ahead. Yep. So where you see that tree line now is parking lot.
the back tree line
Barbara.
Yep.
or the side?
Barbara,
Right at the back and kind of on the side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as the neighborhood goes, oops,
Uh-oh.
I'm pulling up the
Oh.
map.
he's sharing.
Your screen. They're gonna-
Oh, that's cool.
Woo.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
So as far as the neighborhood goes, it's not really going to look any different than it is now, really, at the property.
No different, but hopefully a sign up by the road.
Okay.
So Greg, just a quick question. When you were talking about the parking, you were saying down here?
Yep, so basically where your mouse is right now is right where the parking lot basically ends.
Okay, so I'd have to just amend the map to remove this little.
Yes, yeah. I meant to get in touch with you about that.
but as I understand it, that L-shaped area is still employee parking and customer parking. And it actually goes a bit further to the north past the 40 feet, Max's
does.
note said.
Yep, if you see where the red building is,
Mhm.
I can basically park cars from that on the edge of the tree line to basically to where his L shape ends on the far end. And it looks a lot bigger than you think it is. I think it could probably only park 10, maybe if you felt like packing them in there, 15 cars, but I've never had that many cars there. Yeah.
Okay. So I had a follow-on to Johnny's question, that the holding tank for your old oil burner, like, are there any state requirements for like buffering areas or drain things around to catch stuff if anything does spill like out of your holding tank?
Basically it's a concrete floor, and I have Speedy Dry and other,
Okay.
I have other really nice oil collecting mats.
Okay.
And I'm all about the environment. I love the woods. Believe me, I protect it dearly. So,
Well, the concrete floor, so that's a big,
yeah, that will keep anything from getting out. And believe me, I want all the oil I can to go into that barrel, because it heats my garage. So
Gotcha. Yep. So across the street, there's, because there's mostly trees. There's a house over there, but it's displaced relative to where your driveway is. So
yep.
There's no like sight line from the road to except down your driveway. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yep. You can't see any houses across the road or anything. It's more to the left. And there's a good buffer of trees.
Any other questions or comments?
Max, no feedback from any of the abutters?
I've not received any feedback from the abutters.
Yeah.
I think I said this in my summary, and I'll just repeat it, that the vehicle sales portion would still have to go to the code enforcement officer, just because in the ordinance it says that Dan Waltz has the authority to approve it.
Okay. Anything else?
So you guys don't live there. Do you live there on the property?
I live next door.
Next door, okay.
Long commute.
Yeah, it's a long walk.
So is it another, is this like a home business, Matt, would you say? Home occupation? This is very commercial, not a home occupation.
No, this is not a home occupation.
Yeah, there's no home on the property of the garage.
Okay.
So it's vehicle services and pre-owned vehicle sales.
That's correct.
So this would be also pending the sales part approval of CEO. Does that need to be part of the motion, Max, or we're just approving what we can approve?
That would be a condition, that you approve the vehicle services portion, but the code enforcement officer would need to approve the vehicle sales.
Okay.
And I also spoke with Paul Smeltzer about this item as well. He said that he would suggest having a lockbox involved, and he would like to just speak with the applicants after this about handling that matter.
Okay.
That's something that I'll speak with the Collins about tomorrow.
So that should be in a condition as well?
Correct, that they address the emergency access for the emergency services general standards.
Okay, say that again, Max. I just want to make sure we know what the motion's supposed to say.
Let me pull up the exact section.
Address emergency services.
This would be-
Access.
This is item, or this is section 7.12.2.
Yeah.
emergency services accessibility.
And is that like for like the fire department or?
Yeah, and yeah, that there would be a lockbox so that if there was a fire and you weren't there, they would have the ability to enter the building.
Without destroying it first.
Right,
Yeah.
which they may do anyway, but just hopefully you don't cross that bridge.
Yeah.
That's why I say Chief Smeltzer will have to talk with them afterwards about getting
Yep.
that.
Okay. Okay, so. Okay, I can construct a motion, but before we go there, is there anything else? Because I want to make sure this is complete. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I'm good.
I don't see any movement from Johnny and Jeffrey.
Okay, just one thing that
Yeah.
we may or may not want to do, but one thing that's nice about this application, it is in a residential area. It's going to be a business, but it's set off from the road and it's well screened. Do we need to or want to say anything about the screening between the business area and 235 stay intact?
Well, I think there are, before you removed like a lot more trees, you should check into what the regulations are before you go crazy. Because there are some, we're trying to keep the edges of the road looking good.
Yeah,
traveling
I agree. I like my trees, and that's why I've left them. I kind of like the buffer, and I always keep everything nice and clean and tidy and looking sharp. So.
Does that make sense, Jim? To not put it as a condition or something?
I'm okay. I just wanted to discuss it.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
good.
I'm
it's a
kind-
good
but
point.
I mean, should the business expand and be able to have additional staff and have some more cars there, it could be tempting you sell you sell the business to someone coming in and then, because you're expanding and there's a big temptation to cut that down and put cars out by the road. So I'm comfortable. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, that we put a condition of maintaining the screening from the road and abutters, that would address Jim's question. I don't think it's unreasonable to include.
Well, you're saying that the assumption is he's keeping the existing screening. He doesn't have to keep the existing screening. He has to keep screening to a certain point. And do we
Correct.
really want to get into the whole description right now?
Yeah, no, I think,
But actually, I'm saying we keep the screening as it is. I think if there was to be more, if the plan as submitted was to remove some of that or to come closer to the road, we may have heard from the abutters.
He's 156 feet from the road now, and there's quite a bit of, I think that's onerous to ask him to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of trees in between me and the road. So, and like I said, I like them. I like my trees. I would have cleared them a long time ago if I wanted them gone. So.
Yeah.
So Jim, are you asking that perhaps a picture is taken of what the screening is right now, and the condition is that what is seen right now is maintained for the future? Is that what you're saying?
That's it. Exactly.
right, but wasn't Barbara's point that as long as he maintains sufficient, according to what the ordinance would require of whatever it is by the road, 30 feet or something, that would be adequate? So what if we just added the word appropriate screening from road and abutters, that he doesn't have to keep it 150 feet, but if he took 20 feet of it, it would still, I'm looking for a compromise here.
Well, he should be able to do what anybody else can. The law applies to everybody evenly. We can't ask him to do something extraordinary.
Right.
I mean, it's great the way he has it, but we can't.
Right. So what's the right word? If we're going to put a condition like that, what's the wording for it? Or is there or does the current ordinance just cover that if he tries to do something in the future that doesn't,
I'm going to back off from my suggestion. If we had had abutters here that were concerned about it, I'd feel more strongly.
Okay.
But there's no abutters saying, look, I want to make sure the screening is maintained, so
Right.
I'm fixing a problem that doesn't exist, so.
Okay.
I get along very nicely with all my abutters.
I'm one.
My mother's one of them.
So,
Yeah, well, again, for the applicant, just from the way the planning board operates and what we get concerned about is we fully believe your face value statements and what you like. But again, you could sell the business or something could happen to you and someone could come in
I
who
totally
doesn't
agree.
feel so about it. So we just need to make sure that we're following the law
Yep.
and making sure that everything matches up with the land use ordinance.
Yeah.
So if there may be more questions or comments, but I'm getting that we would have a motion, we would entertain a motion to approve 646 Union Road for vehicle services and pre-owned vehicle sales, pending CEO approval of the pre-owned vehicle sales and addressing the emergency services access to be approved by Chief Smeltzer. Does that cover everything that we have so far? And Max, does that sound good?
yes, I was just, so the thing I was gonna reference in the land use ordinance regarding this screening buffering issue, this is section 7.1.2.5, visual impacts.
Say it again, Max. Say it again. The
Section-
number?
Section 7.1.2.5.
Okay, thanks.
Along any property line where the planning board determines it necessary to minimize the visual impact on adjoining traveled ways and properties of uses including but not limited to the following: exposed storage and service areas. I could read through the whole thing, but I'm gonna get to the point. Automobile service and junkyards, parking areas. Such buffer strips shall be consistent with setback plans. So that's probably the point it's getting at, where if you want to say it's more than the usual, you can do what the suggestion was earlier of saying, this is what the buffer is now, and this is what it should remain. But I'm just saying that that's what's in the ordinance. But if you don't want to go beyond that, then that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Anybody on the board feel we need to go beyond what the
No.
ordinance says?
No, if you end up removing some trees, just check with the town what the setback, what the limit is. So,
As far as I can tell, I have one dead tree that I might
Has
cut
to go
down.
down.
Only one?
Only one.
gotta come over to my
Wow,
house.
I wish I had your.
I'm sorry if I'm a stickler. I was just looking at the ordinance. Can you repeat the conditions again?
Sure. So I would like to hear a motion to approve 646 Union Road, Collins Auto for vehicle services and pre-owned vehicle sales, pending CEO approval of the vehicle sales and Chief Smeltzer's approval of a plan to address the emergency services access.
I do have one question for Greg. I did ask about the Maine Department of Transportation entry and exit. Did you give me that, or is that still in the works?
It's still in the works. I did see that they painted a white line at the top of my driveway, so I know that they've come by, but I have not seen any paperwork from them or received anything from them yet. I think it's in the works, but hopefully we can get that to you soon.
So then the third condition, Scott, would be the Maine Department of Transportation approving the entry permit.
Okay. All right. So, the motion now, okay, so we need a motion to approve 646 Union Road for vehicle services and pre-owned vehicle sales pending approval from Maine DOT CEO approval for the vehicle sales and emergency services approval of access plan, lockbox. And I have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Any other
Who was
questions,
the maker, please?
comments?
Susan?
Who made the motion?
I did.
Jim and Barbara seconded. Jim made the motion and
Thank you. I
Barbara
have
seconded.
Barbara. Thank you.
No other questions or comments?
I think we're good.
All those in favor of the motion say, signify aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. You are good to go.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
I
Good luck.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take
Great,
care.
I'll email out to you tomorrow to clarify what happens next.
Great. I'll stop in and see you tomorrow, Max. Thank you so much for everything.
I'm not in the office on Thursday, so that's why I'm doing an email.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, email.
All right.
We appreciate it.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good night. Okay. Last but not least is retail space expansion, Delano Seafood. Or Delano, I am sorry,
Yeah,
sir,
right.
but I never can remember which one it is, even though I've been through this before.
It's Delano.
Delano, thank you. I'm sorry.
Either way, so
So
As in Franklin Delano Roosevelt, you can remember that more easily, perhaps.
Oh, thank you, Susan. I like that.
they say, yeah.
If you're old enough to remember Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that
Well, I'm old enough to have read some history, so I at least got that far. So anything you want to, we have the documents. You want to take us through that?
All I'm looking to do is, I'm looking to add a 40 by 36 building addition onto the existing seafood market. And an 8 by 40 on the back of it. The 8 by 20 will be a walk-in cooler, 8 by 20 will be a walk-in freezer, and then the existing floor will just be an expansion to our floor in the other market. What we're gonna do is move the one wall and push it back, so the retail space now that we serve, that we use, will be, half of that will be storage, and then the other half will be added onto this expansion for the new floor. Nothing out of the ordinary, there's no more bathroom, and we're gonna use the existing bathroom in the other building. It's just gonna be pretty much an open floor addition.
Okay. So Max, did you have anything you wanted to?
Chief, again, just going with Chief Paul Smeltzer, he does just want to speak with Kendall. I don't know if he's already spoken.
No.
Yeah, it's another lockbox item, he just wants to talk about possible options.
Yep.
I'm sorry. And the DOT permit is already in there that says the retail space is allowed. I think the only item was the FEMA floodplains, and that should be in the maps. I spoke with Stan Waltz about what that means if it's in the floodplain, and that would mean hiring a surveyor to verify that the lowest floor will be 1 foot above the flood zone. So that's certainly an option if Kendall would like to do that. And that's, I believe, map 1 for the package that I sent you. Map 2 would be if Kendall decides to bring the building more closer to the road rather than having it in the flood zone. the FEMA flood zone.
Yeah,
Right,
I'll get a survey, like Max said, and if where I want the building is gonna be in the flood zone, we'll move it 12 feet ahead, so then it won't be. Just to make it easier, so we don't have to apply for anything through FEMA.
so if it was in the flood zone, what happens? Is that an insurance thing, or you have to get FEMA approval, or how would that work?
It would be an insurance and then, it would then be a construction process, approval process through the code enforcement officer.
Okay,
The floodplain construction requirements.
I didn't hear that. It would what?
It would be the flood insurance, and then, Stan Walsh would be approving the building items for that. The code enforcement officer. Still can't hit, yeah. So if it's determined that the building is gonna be in the FEMA flood zone, then then everything would still happen, but there would be an additional bit where a surveyor has to verify that the building will be 1 foot above the flood zone, at which point we're gonna have Stan Welch, the code enforcement officer, involved in having Kendall get a floodplain permit, which we haven't done too many of. And that's more on the construction side of it. Not too much with the planning board.
So if this is a floodplain, is this a seasonal wetland? What is this?
Can you describe the brook behind the shop?
There's a small brook that goes behind the shop now, goes right around the whole land, behind the seafood shack. We got two, it goes right around it. The water, when we get a lot of rain, it comes up a little bit, but it's still 100 feet probably from the market now. But it, when you add on that way, of course, it's going to be a little closer. But the water, I've never seen the water come up where I want to put the building now.
Kendall, if I understood, I'm sorry, Barbara, go ahead.
That's okay, go ahead.
I understand what you said earlier is your plan is to amend the building permit so that that corner stays out of the floodplain. Did I understand you correctly?
If it's easier so we don't have to do everything. If I move the building 12 feet ahead where I wanted it first, my max is saying that it would be out of the flood zone. But I think to make it totally easy and so we don't have to go through a law, I think it would just be better to move it 12 feet ahead, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Got it.
I'm going to have another piece of land in Friendship survey, so when the surveyor comes, I might just have him survey it just because, but I'd rather be safe. I don't want to place the flood if I'm going to put a lot of money into it. But the best thing to do probably is just move it ahead 12 feet, and I don't have to worry about it.
So I believe I said it in my summary, but map 1 is the original plan for what's the original invention. Map 2 would be to get it out of the floodplain. If it is found that map 1 would be in the flood zone. If the surveyor confirms it, I should say.
Are both these coolers in that 30 by 40 building? Both of the walk-ins?
It's inside the building, yeah. Yeah. So they're in the back side of the building. They're going to be access to get in them will be from inside the building, not doors on the back.
Kendall, did I see that you recently brought in some fill and you're adding parking on the right-hand side coming in, the northeast side?
Last year we filled in the ditches because we're going to need more room. And then this spring, I'd say Tony Lash come in and put the good bill on top of it and level it off, so we're going to have that much more parking for it. We're going to have parking because last year we proved putting in the ice cream place this spring too, and, so we're gonna need more parking. And the plan is, I'm hoping to pave the parking lot so we can put lines down so people know where to park.
Hmm.
Just don't pull in and park every which way. Sometimes they do that now, they're just parking every which way. There's room
Spray
now.
paint gravel too.
Yes, I think that's what the plan is. We're gonna add pavement to the whole parking lot and then line everything so it's just so much easier.
So I'm back to the one location for the other, and compared to the other, I'm not. So is your request that we approve this pending your surveying and determining whether you can put it where you originally wanted to or not, or what's that? That's what you would.
The original one is where I want it, but if it says it's in the flood zone, I'm not want to go to FEMA and apply for all the permits. If it's in the flood zone, then I'm just gonna go with the second plan and put 12 feet out over the road. It won't be.
Okay.
I just, if it's surveyed where it's not in it, I'd like to go there, but if not, if it's in it, I'm not gonna deal with FEMA, I'm just gonna go ahead. I want to put it in the second plan.
Okay.
Johnny has a question, actually.
Okay, go ahead, Johnny.
Hello, hi Kendall. It's a great spot. This last summer, it gets really busy and kind of hectic, and I had my motorcycle, and I was going to turn in, and I didn't. Because I'm just wondering, does this affect how the cars are going to come in with the new building?
No, the building's under that part of the law. Okay. That's why I'm gonna.
I cannot hear a thing.
I agree with you, Barbara. I can't hear what Kendall's saying.
Totally, it's the worst I've ever heard it, Max, honestly. Of all the meetings.
Yeah, I think Kendall was turning to face Johnny away from the microphone, so.
You're fine. I will. It won't affect the parking. The building won't. It's just. That's why I'm gonna pave the parking lot so we can get lines, and that way everyone's parking where they're supposed to be parking. If it's really busy, some people park certain ways, and we never had a problem yet. But when it's like on Wednesday night cruising, it could have been, and that's when the antique cars come. We do have the parking lot full. So that's what I just want to avoid that part. So when we tire it, we're going to put the parking. It's going to be more parking than what there is now. Probably, I'm guessing, probably 40% more parking. So it will be a lot safer.
So, other than the building location, are there any other questions or comments? So regarding the building location, as the board, are we comfortable with approving this with the pending the emergency services access and a surveyor, pending floodplain permit and approval through the CEO of the specific location, option 1 and option 2? Or are we comfortable with that?
Say that again, Scott. I couldn't write fast enough.
Well, it's not a motion. It's not a motion yet. I'm just trying to understand
The
whether.
thought, and I don't understand the
Okay.
thought.
Are we comfortable with approving this pending the location, the exact location of the building, option 1 or option 2, following a survey and either a floodplain permit and approval through the CEO?
I don't think that's what's on the table, Scott. My understanding from Kendall is he's not going to go the floodplain approval route. He's going to site the building such that it avoids the floodplain. It's going to be surveyed to make sure he's outside. And I was going to say that we
Okay,
we
I
really
got
don't
you.
have anything to approve until that survey is done, because there's nothing to sign, because the site plan that we sign needs to be the one that shows the real location of the building after the survey is redone.
I haven't set one up yet. If it's easier to do, we can go right with the second plan. It's already out of the, we go to the second one, it's already out of the flood zone. We actually figured it out, it's already out, but if it's the best thing to do, I'll just go that way. Then we have no problem, we know it's out.
Do you know how long it would be for the survey to be done?
I'm not sure, yeah, it shouldn't take so long, I would think.
But do you know with enough surety that it's out of the floodplain without doing a survey? Even the second one?
I'm not positive, but.
I was going to say it's the system that's used, it's the state of Maine ArcGIS system. It could have an error rate. Kendall saying that he's going to do a survey is a reassuring thing. I don't know how long the survey is. That's fine. Do you know when was the plan to have this done? The construction started.
As soon as whenever the ground's still, they can't get it, the groundwork ready because it's still frozen kind of, so. I'm guessing it'll be the next few weeks, within the next month probably. But yeah, Max checked it on the computer that the state uses, and it showed like that plan, the second plan was out of the flood zone on the state's computer.
So I suppose you do have two options. The first being it could be tabled to next month, and hopefully by that time the survey will have been done, so you have a better idea of where the floodplain is and where the building would be in relation to it. And the second option would be to approve with the condition that Stan Waltz does not issue a building permit until he receives the survey, ensuring that it is in fact out of the flood zone. So that's the two options.
Yeah, I'm kind of I think what Jim was getting at is sort of where I'm lying, that it seems my comfort level would be a lot greater if the survey was done, which would give Kendall an opportunity to put the building where he wants to, and then we know what we're actually approving and signing for a plot plan that we know is accurate. Because I think in without the survey would just provide some comfort and accuracy that we know whatever is being done is not in the floodplain.
And we could approve today pending the production of that actual site map. And that's what we'd put signatures on. It wouldn't have to come before the board again. It's just the signatures.
Well, we don't, the site map could be option A or option B, right? We don't know what the,
Oh, no, but we wouldn't even see it until the survey's done and it's accurate. We wouldn't put signatures to it until it was actually done.
well, then that goes back to my original question. Are we comfortable approving this pending the map being finalized as to the exact building location? How does everybody feel about that?
I don't think there's any other issue.
Well, Bob, right, I don't think.
I wish I could have heard more of what's going on. Honestly, but I heard what you said. I hear you very well, Scott and Jim, but nobody else.
So basically what Kendall has said is that he's been trying to line up a surveyor. He's supposed to get out there soon, and that it's too early to start construction. Max had asked him, how big a rush are you in for the approval? And Max also, I believe, said he has about, a 2-week window to get Kendall into the next board approved, that our next meeting, if that's enough time to get the survey done. I think that was the gist of the dialogue that you missed in the office.
Well, I wouldn't say a 2-week window. I would need to have this document at least 2 Mondays before the meeting, so, or 10 days before the meeting. So I don't know what that puts us at, but it's pretty much the first week in April I would need to have that survey.
So is anyone digging a foundation the first week of April? Is that? So are we holding you up, Kendall?
I don't know when they normally do start. I guess stuff does happen soon, but I'm just, I asked the captain last night when we can start. He says it's not quite yet, but we could start pretty soon. But he didn't say the exact date. Probably with this warm weather, it could be, it could be any time. Possible it could be any time, with this good weather, but. So like I said, I don't want to put nothing in the flood zone if I'm gonna have my insurance high or damage the building, then I'm gonna spend $120,000 on. I don't want to do nothing to ruin it.
So the question is more, if the planning board was to say, we need to see the survey and re-review the documents on April, I don't remember what the next meeting is going to be. I'm sorry. I think April 12th, I think is the next meeting. If the planning board says April 12th is when you have to re-review it and hopefully you have the survey by then, is that going to cause a significant delay in what you're doing?
It could be. It's another month, but I didn't really ask the carpenter when it could start. Yeah, so. But the 14th is a Wednesday. If that makes any difference to you.
April 14th, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it seems to me, doesn't the survey have to get done before you put the building in either location? You have to have a survey?
I don't know. I don't know much about it. I don't know. I asked Max looked on the computer of the state, and he said, well, if we put it 12 feet ahead, it's out of the flood zone by the state standards on that map. The map on the computer.
Well, just for clarity, when I'm saying the state's map, I'm just saying their GIS, I'm just saying the state's GIS program, right? So that's just clarity I just want to make.
Well, the issue from maybe from your perspective, Kendall, too, is that if what Max is able to look up, which is indicative here, if it's not something that's going to pass, that just that site, the main site, isn't necessarily enough to set. I don't know. Is that going to satisfy your insurance company, and whatever else relative to whether the building is actually a foot above the floodplain or not? It seems to me that.
Right. The building I use for the Delano Seafood Shack is closer to the brook than this building that I'm planning to put an addition on the building. But I don't know if that's any different because it's movable or whatever, but.
Well, I'm
if you're
sorry.
going to sign anything tonight, I'd be more comfortable signing the one that Kendall doesn't want to do. Because we should have an agreement on something that we're all looking at.
So here's an option then. What if we could have a motion to approve the option 2 of the location further away from the floodplain? That if Kendall wants to do a survey and get approval for the first location that's closer, he can come back to us for changing the location.
Or would he have to? Would that just be a CEO thing?
Well, we're signing a location map.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we're approving based on, that's why, you know, that's the whole thing, is approving the site map.
Yep.
So that at least gives you the option of coming back to us if you want to revert to your preferred location. You just have to get the survey and you know, get whatever you need to have it permitted.
So just as a clarity, just to clarify, you're approving map 2, which according to the map, would have the building out of the floodplain. That way Kendall can at least get things in order. But if Kendall gets the surveyor to verify that the original placement would be outside of the floodplain too, Kendall could come back to the planning board and just make an amendment to the site plan.
Yes. Or he could get a floodplain permit if it's in the floodplain, or take some other approach. But if he can get some other thing that is permitted by law in the state of Maine, he could come back to us for that. So does that make sense?
Yep, does make sense to me.
Okay. Max?
Yep, perfectly fine.
Everybody else from the board? So I would like to entertain a motion to approve Delano Seafood additional building for expansion of retail space with the condition of approval by Chief Smeltzer of Emergency Services Access, and that this approval is for the site plan map 2.
So
I can-
moved.
Okay, motion made by Barbara. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jim. Any other questions or comments?
I
It's a
didn't get,
busy little site.
Someone was gonna say something.
What'd you say, Barbara?
I said it's a busy little site.
Yes, it's a busy- Yes, it's good.
I didn't, Scott, I didn't get your full motion. It was to approve Delano Seafood's additional building subject to Chief Smeltzer's approval of something or other access. and
Emergency
approval of site
services,
plan.
emergency services access,
Thank you.
and that we're approving the site plan map 2.
Site plan map 2. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else on this? All those in favor of the motion signify aye.
I,
All opposed? Motion carried. You are all set.
Thank you.
Good luck.
yes.
Thanks, Mary.
Stay or you?
Yeah, I gotta go back to clean health and clean, probably they're done now. Thanks. I should be done.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Right. Thank you. Good luck.
So, Max, in the agenda, you have pre-application, but there's nothing there. Is there a pre-application?
I always just leave pre-application in there just in case there is some last item.
I thought so, but there's just checking. So next on the agenda, we have the minutes of the last planning board meeting of February 10th. Did everyone get a chance to look at that? That we can we address that tonight?
Well, I've read through it and I thought Susan did a wonderful job as usual. I didn't find anything.
I had a lot of help, which I appreciate.
Any changes or modifications, suggestions for the minutes? I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th as presented.
So moved?
Is there a second?
I said, Sarah, you do it.
Sarah seconded. Okay, anything else on this? Going once, going twice. All those in favor of approving these minutes signify by aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Oh, I get to check another one off. Woo-hoo. Okay, great. Any comments from the planning board? I would first have some comments, which is it's 7:25 and we did 3 applications, which was pretty good. And it's nice to have a lot of stuff happening in town. I think they're good things, and I think it was well done, everybody. I don't have any other things, but Barbara has something, so go ahead.
Max, why don't you get some information on how much mics are going to be?
All right,
Have
so,
you got an estimate?
I know what the problem is. I have to just find a way of getting these mics hooked up to the computer, so I'm not having to rely on the mic that's in the camera that's showing the Zoom. That's the technical thing I have to get right now. This isn't this isn't just a matter of getting more mics. This is just getting the audio connected to the laptop. And
Okay,
I honestly don't have too much time to do it with all the meetings and all the other work that I have to do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna try and speak with Ruben Mahar to try and figure this out. Like, I know the audio is not the best. This is very similar to when, like a year or two ago before COVID, there were audio issues as well. Please stop sending emails. I know it's not good right now.
So the issue is you don't have time to work on this because you have other things. What other, no, go ahead.
I don't know where to even start unwinding it. I need to
Okay.
find. his-
What are the mics that are on the table? What are they, what kind of mics are they?
Those mics that are on the table?
Yeah.
They connect to the old system that's right here that used to just record it before we even did live streams.
Okay, what are the plugs on them?
What?
How do they plug in? Are they hardwired in so there's no plugs at the end of them?
Yeah, it's all hardwired in, and it's.
Okay.
I need a good day or two when people aren't asking me for anything, so I can even
Yep.
just look at this thing and try and figure out how I
Okay.
can put this in there.
Okay.
I think Ruben was even watching tonight and made some suggestions, and I said, I
Okay.
need to see this in the future.
So what's actually running the Zoom on the computer is just a regular laptop?
Right, it's a regular old laptop.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm not offering it to you because I don't use it for this purpose, but I have equipment here right in this room with me that would solve your problem.
Well,
So-
all the meetings must have this problem. It's
Yeah,
a lot of boards.
Right.
I
Right.
just finished taking minutes of the select board and I could hear them a whole lot better than I could hear you people.
Wow.
4 of the 5 are in that room, sitting at the conference table.
Yeah, they sit at the table, right?
And one of them is speaking on a telephone remotely. And the audio is 100% clearer.
Hmm. Well, there you go.
Okay.
Well, this needs a little sleuthing, but
Yep, and
anyway, it's relatively, I mean, it is a couple $100, but you can get a computer. There's what's called a computer interface, and it's a little box, and it has a USB port that plugs into the laptop, and you can plug regular microphone cables into it. And so it's a computer interface box, and if you have that, you can have regular microphones and regular microphone cables. But then you've got cables strung all over the place, so I'm not sure you want to do that, but I'm just saying there are technical.
Todd, are you
solutions.
volunteering to help Max?
I can advise Max, but yes, I can't give him equipment because it's in use, but anyway.
And
How are you going to connect people that are in 7 different locations with these microphones and wires?
Well, if you had 2 vocal microphones on that table, they would pick up. I would guarantee you they're going to pick up better than what's there now. Regular vocal microphones have, can pick up, you can have mics that would pick up over that pretty well.
Pick up remote speakers speaking.
No, the remote speakers, our problem is not the remote speakers. Our problem is the people in the conference room, they're wiring to go into the laptop because I don't have trouble, you're not having trouble hearing me or Barbara or Jim or Sarah who are calling in on Zoom. It's really just an issue with the conference room. So, and it's a perennial problem. My company I work for had problems in their conference rooms picking up people. It's not an easy problem to solve. It sounds easy, but it's not.
One handheld mic that gets walked around.
that's yeah.
I mean, we're talking one at a time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but right now we only really allow 1 at a time speakers, and here, and people have to wave at me. Johnny and Jeff have to wave to vote, and for me to see them and hopefully acknowledge them. So yeah, that could actually be done that way. So anyway, I'll help you with what at least I know, Max, if you're interested. But
again, I'm gonna talk with Ruben Mahar tomorrow to see what he was, because I think he was saying a very similar thing, and I just need to know what the equipment is and how to take a look at it.
Right.
So he can give me a good idea of what needs to be done.
Yeah, but I would suggest not investing in a big system to improve it, that to go cheap and have even just to have a single microphone, as Jim is suggesting that you pass around, but that works well, to guarantee that we at least get good communication at the least possible cost is a good way to start. You can pay a lot of money for conference room audio and still not get it be that much better. So, okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
And I want to know more about the cat that just got on Barbara Street.
Yeah, pretty.
I
Oh, that's a beautiful cat. Yes.
She is very beautiful.
What's her name?
She's a keeper. Her name is Mayo for mayonnaise.
Oh.
And she goes meow, meow, meow.
You call her Hellman when you're mad at her.
Or in this case, Hell Woman.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So,
Anything else?
So on more serious stuff, I have been getting a few planning board members asking about a recent news article about a kennel for a dog daycare place that opened in town. So what happened, there is an individual who does have a dog daycare center in town where I did speak with them today. What their business is they take just 2 dogs a day in addition to what they already have for dogs, as in their own personal dogs. And they simply are just watching the dog for the day, or dogs for the day. And by the end of the night, by nighttime, they give it back to their owners, and then they go on. I asked Stan Waltz where he would view this, and he would consider it a home occupation at this point, just because there is no overnight stay, and because the only time the dogs are going to be going outside would be when they're, doing their usual business. So he would consider it a home occupation at this point, just because it is in their private residential business, or their own private residence. It's not using any outdoor space. It's not using any overnight. It's no overnight accommodations. And considering its location pretty deep in the backwoods, and it's not gonna be next to any property, you likely aren't gonna hear anything, especially with the trees surrounding it. And that should be noted that I think it's item 8 is nuisance control. So when we do hear complaints about barking and other items that would cause some issues for the neighborhood, then Stan and I can step in to have it come to the board as an official kennel. But that was what Stan and I were discussing today before the meeting. However, if the board feels differently, then we can discuss that now.
Well, don't they have future plans for building a,
They do have future plans to.
so that, at that point, they would come in front of the planning board, right?
Right. Michael said that the next phase would be to build out the garage so that there can be overnight accommodation, at which point they would come to the planning board.
Okay.
So does anyone have any?
Just along that line, Nick, can you run like a business out of an apartment and a garage? And if it's like, I'm just gonna say plumbing and heating, can you get deliveries and store all your equipment and run it out of literally an apartment?
Mind if I answer?
Can't hear a thing.
Oh, sure, yeah, I was just.
I just want to talk directly to the screen just because of what happened. So Johnny was asking if a home occupation could be run out of an apartment. Yes, you would need to make sure you have the permission from the actual landowner, and that would have to be in your home occupation permit. But you certainly can have like a home office and have some deliveries made to your apartment. That's certainly fine. The point of a home occupation is a person running their own personal little business in an environment that if I was to drive right by it, I wouldn't think twice and think that it's a business going on.
Right.
So so it's more used to a home occupation. A home occupation is more associated with like home offices where we're seeing a lot of right now, where instead of having a spot somewhere in the downtown or in the professional building, someone's just using an unused space in their home. And in this case, daycare, a dog daycare. But obviously and the specific standards for a home occupation sort of outline what the boundaries are. And once you go beyond it, that's when you start triggering that it is a formal commercial business. Like one item is if you hire 4 people who aren't family members, that no longer makes you a home occupation. So does that answer your question?
It does, Max, but I have done some research on this. The state also has some laws. Do the state laws overrule the town laws in a situation like this?
Do the state laws overrule? That always depends on the actual language of the state laws. Maine is usually a very pro local rule state, where they tend to have language that states that the towns can be more restrictive on their measures. I'd have to see what you're referring to for home occupation.
Okay, well, thank you.
But sometimes, usually whenever we're working on the ordinance, we usually do make sure that it is in line with what the state law says.
Okay.
I couldn't understand what Max said, so he's going to have to write that section of the minutes.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, then I would like to hear a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Sarah seconds. All those in favor of the motion signify aye.
Woo!
All opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.